Hey Bree, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How's things slightly in the past? Because you're a few hours behind me from where I am in the UK. How's
Oh,
things looking?
it's like time travel. I mean, you should tell
Yeah.
me how things are looking because
I am going to try and find out the winning lottery numbers, and then I will email them to you just so you can make more movies.
good. That would
So
be great. That's what it's going to take at this point, I think.
this is the new way to do conversations and interviews, isn't it? Using technology. It's amazing.
It is. It is. You know what? I like it in some ways, but in other ways, sometimes these would have just been phoners, and I wouldn't have had to put on makeup. And
Yeah.
I liked a little bit better, but it's good to see people's faces.
I wouldn't have had to have made sure there was a nice horror poster behind me every time I'm doing one of these conversations. Either that, it's a wardrobe, and wardrobe's no fun. So it's like let's dig out the Dawn of the Dead poster and put it right there to at least make some sort of a set.
Do you switch it based on who you're talking to?
I did think about it, but it's like because I've been doing a lot of coverage for Grimmfest, which is primarily horror films. I've got a signed Terminator poster, that kind of horror, I guess. I've got a Goodfellas one, which not really horror, but there are horrific things in it. So I've got a whole bunch, but the Dawn of the Dead one seems to be rather popular.
It's a good one. Yeah.
So it's not too bad at all. So I was watching the trailer for 12 Hour Shift. There seems to be more than one trailer. So there is one that has music overplayed that plays over the scenes, and it doesn't show you the story of it, but it tells you what sort of atmosphere you're going to get from watching the film and a rough, the look, obviously. And then there's another trailer that does show you the storyline to a certain extent. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, well, I think that's the difference between I think the first one was made when we got into Tribeca. We got into Tribeca Film Festival here in the States, and my producers just wanted something to put out into the world, and that they kind of put that together. I'll be real with you, I didn't have a say on either trailer.
Okay.
So once the movie is bought, they ask me some. I mean, I gave input, but I like the one Magnolia made. I think it's really good. I like that it tells the story.
Mm.
I'm not a person that feels like you have to hide a lot of the stuff that's going to happen in your movie. You're showing up to watch the movie that you're there to show up for. There's not a lot of secrets in this movie.
I think unless it's a film like The Sixth Sense, where you don't want to show, if it's a heavy spoiler movie like Usual Suspects or Fight Club or something like that. So anybody who's
Sure.
not seen those films, I've just kind of ruined those for you. There's a big twist in
Right,
them.
right. But I think all these filmmakers have this idea that they're making The Sixth Sense, and I'm like, there's very few movies that this is actually that you should keep things
Mm.
a secret. Where they're like, don't post this scene. I'm like, post this scene. Tell people that there's gonna be like a weird bloody musical in the middle. Like that's fine with me.
So if you're selling a pizza or some sort, restaurants will generally have a nice picture of the food you're going to go in and eat. They won't go, "Oh, I can't show you what it looks like. Just come in,
Yeah.
give me your money, and I'm hoping you like it."
Yes, I love that. I love when I go to like a Thai restaurant and it's like, here's what our food looks like, and I'm like, I want this picture of food.
Give me the green one. So behind me, you will see. I've got a mirrored thing. There is a Pollyanna Macintosh digital art done by Vanessa McKee, whose partner is Lucky McKee, who made
Yeah.
The Woman. Your film has a connection to The Woman, and she was also in May, which I haven't seen the film May. I need to really sort that out. But Angela is in your film,
Mhm.
who was also in The Woman. So how did you come to cast her? Did you know her beforehand, or how did that happen?
No, I've just been a fan, and you need to remedy this. You have
I
to see
do.
May.
So many
I
films
actually,
I've not seen.
I rewatched it last night, and she's so good in it. She's just Angela has such a specificity about her acting, where she's just very present and very on, and everything. All of her choices are really specific, and May is kind of funny. Like there's all these
Mm.
funny, quirky moments in it, and she's also funny in 12 Hour Shift. And I think that she's a comedic actress in a lot of ways. It's just funny she's ended up doing a lot of genre stuff. Although I think genre and comedy are both about timing, so it makes sense to me when actors end up doing both. But yeah, I didn't know Angela. I knew someone who knew her, and I got the script to her that way, and then ended up meeting with her and talking to her agents and stuff. And she responded to the script. She thought it was funny. We talked a lot about the character, and then a lot about what I was going for stylistically, and just the tone of the movie, because the tone is obviously very weird. It has a lot of comedy in it. And she totally got it right away and was excited to do it. And then we met a few more times, but yeah, this was my first time ever being around her, and she's just a extreme joy to work with. She's so lovely.
She is great in the films I've seen her in. I've seen the woman so many times, and I think that was probably, if I go look at her filmography, I've probably seen her in films before, but for me, when I think of Angela, until I've seen 12 Hour Shift, of course, I will think of the woman, and then once I've seen 12 Hour Shift, then I'll think of her from both films. So I won't throw one out with the bathwater and replace it. I can keep both, so it's pretty good. But you've described your film as a Valentine to Texas, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting.
Interesting.
The the in shooting, we shot in Arkansas because Arkansas has really good tax breaks for filmmakers, and also my producers are both from there, and they were able to find this amazing hospital location. So in doing so, we actually changed the location of the script to Arkansas. Okay. But I think Arkansas and East Texas have a lot in common. And I know I'm getting very regional here, but I do feel like they have a
geography lessons. Everybody needs, some people do need a refresher in geography.
From each other, honestly, but they have a lot in common. When I was in Arkansas, I felt very at home. But yeah, I grew up with a lot of really interesting people. I'm from a small town, and I think small towns are full of just people who are characters. They get to be themselves, and they really, truly are kind of weirdos in the best way possible. And I ended up putting a lot of those weirdos in the movie.
I think also if you're from a bigger city, you generally don't see the same person twice very often if you're out and about. So obviously you do notice these characters in smaller towns. I come from a small town as well, and we will see the strange people that just walk around 24 hours a day with the same carrier bag or whatever, all these wonderful, weird, unique people that just need to be on paper and then transcribed into film. They so have to be.
You know their story because you're from a small town, so you know people who know them, or you know them. So you kind of like know everyone's business, and in doing so, you kind of realize how strange people actually are. Whereas I live in Los Angeles, and I know my neighbors, but not super well, and I don't know anybody who knows them, so I never am going to find out any more information about them than what they give me. But in a small town, you hear all of the gossip, so I literally know who's cheating on who, with who is become an alcoholic. Like I know all of the dark secrets of every person.
I know you just write them down, get them written down, put them in screenplays.
Help them in a script.
So you'd started acting several years before you made your first film. Mm-hmm. What was the trigger? You've been in some amazing shows, Dexter and Heroes, to sort of name two of my favorites. But what was the trigger that made you think, you know what, I want to direct something. I'm ready for that next move.
Yeah, well, I had been acting for, when I made my first movie, a long time. I've been acting for like 8 years or something like that, maybe a little less, maybe 5 years. And I was at a place where I had done a lot of really cool stuff, but I felt like acting was always a little hard for me when it came to what fit with my personality and my goals. Because with acting, whether you like it or not, for the most part, you are waiting around for something to get greenlit, to get the phone to ring, to get to play the 4th person, 5th person, 20th person on the call sheet. I wasn't at a level where I was greenlighting huge movies as an actress. So I was coming in towards the end of the process, and I always felt like there was something I was missing during all of that. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about the industry. I come from a family that has no industry connections. I knew nobody making movies before I moved to Los Angeles. So I've learned everything through trial and error. I worked at a management company and read scripts. That's how I started thinking that I could possibly write. The way I knew I could direct is I directed a feature film. I kind of like just would jump in to see like what clicked with me and what didn't. And directing really clicked with me. It took a long time to go from my first one to my second one, but directing was really hard for my first one. I think I wasn't prepared for the amount of work it was going to take, but I did really love it, and was much more prepared for my second one.
So you had mentioned at one point, I think the phrase you used was to see if I could direct. What would what would that person think if you went back to them now and said, by the way, you're gonna make several short films, several features, you're gonna be sitting on Zoom. Obviously, we won't know about a pandemic, so don't mention that. That will freak people out.
Don't
But
tell me.
you will be speaking to people all over the planet in film festivals, Fright Fest and Grimmfest, and all about your film. Would you go, yep, I can see that, or would you go, nah? How would you feel?
Well, I think to do anything in the film industry, you have to be slightly delusional.
Yeah, it is, certainly, yeah.
I hate that, but I think like I moved out here to Los Angeles to be an actress, knowing no one, with zero resume, no resume, and like my dog and like in my car, like what I could fit in my car. And I was like, I'm sure I'll make a living doing this. And then you come out here and you realize everyone has done the same thing. That is not a special story. That is a normal ass story for Los Angeles. And most people don't. I mean, like most people don't end up being able to make a living, which there's no shame in that. I think the industry is so based on luck. So I don't know if I would have, I mean, if you had told me that like there would have been an 7-year gap between my first and second movie, I may not have done it. Yeah. I may have been like, I'll just stick to acting. This pays the bills and whatever, because it was such a struggle getting my next movie made. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that person would be very happy to know where I am now. I'm
sure they would, but it must be very surreal as well, I think. And I think that's a good thing. I've spoke to a lot of actors and filmmakers, and they've thankfully never lost that. Wow, this is kind of a crazy, insane journey I'm on. I love it. Keep going.
I will say on 12-Hour Shift, I had the loveliest crew, and one of them convinced this local skating rink to let us have a party there. It was crazy. So we had this skating rink, small town in Arkansas, all to ourselves. This like cool ass like old skating rink, which was just like rad. I want to go shoot a movie there. And everyone was skating around and dancing and stuff. And I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, I wrote a script. I dragged all these people down here to Arkansas, and they're here for me because they believe in this project, because no one's getting paid enough for them to just be here for money. And that was like a really surreal moment where I was like very just grateful that people were willing to take a shot on something that, you never know when you walk into a set if it's going to be a success or a failure. Trust me from experience. I've been on so many that no one ever even saw.
I mean, I'm shooting my own short films at the minute, and they're in the process of being edited by me. I'm learning everything from the ground up, and I'm at that stage where it's like, what if these suck? And it's not going to stop me from putting them out there, but there's that, I hope this works, because people have put so much time in it and so much effort, and I hope this is good out there as it is in my head. So yeah. I'm riding on the coattails of many filmmakers at the minute, but it's fun.
I'm sure they're great, and if they're not, what you do if they suck is that you just do another one.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not, the thing is, I mean, especially like watching like acting and stuff like that, but the people who are just still doing it are just still doing it. It's the people who haven't quit yet. Quitting is really the problem. And like all these people who work so hard, call them up and make sure they know you're going to hire them for the next one. And like, I think loyalty is really important. But yeah, I mean, look, I've made a lot of shit that sucked. And then you learn that lesson and then you move on.
What was the biggest thing because as I mentioned, you'd done a lot of acting. What's the biggest thing that you learned from being on film sets, be it films or TV shows, that you then took into your directing career? Was there something that stood out more than any other?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Coming from an acting background, you're so focused on acting and the actors, and you kind of have this weird universe where you think the actors are the center of the world because everyone kind of treats you that way. I think one thing that I really appreciate as an actor is when a director is very honest with me and treats me like an adult instead of treating me with kid gloves, where, they're very concerned about everything I feel. And like, I appreciate their concern for me as an actor, but also like, I want to contribute as part of this film community. And I try to treat my actors the same way. I try to give them the respect that they are adults. They're adults. This is a job. Hey, we're running an hour behind today. Like, I will just tell them. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to like say, like, like, to give you an example, like I was just shooting a TV show, and one of our actors just didn't show up one day. This local hire, and the actors were all standing around, and I had to go, hey, here's what's going on. We're still figuring out what to do now, so just take a breather. We're gonna figure this out, I promise, and we'll come back. I think on other sets, some people would not tell the actors what's going on, and I think that's so strange.
Yes.
So that's one thing I do is I definitely try to treat my actors like they know what's going on. They're adults. They've been here day in and day out. They know what the hell's going on. So that's I just talk reasonably to them. Whereas I think a lot of directors come in and try to treat actors like they are in some other universe.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing it all perfectly. So well done. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. So the film is going to be shown at Grimmfest. I have only seen both trailers. So why should people? Because there's quite a lot of films shown at Grimmfest, and I've attended the actual Grimmfest events over the past few years, and they are an amazing team. I want them to adopt me. I'm working on it. A little bit over adoption, but I'm going to try and get in there somehow. Why should they watch 12-Hour Shift, and what can they expect, if you wish to tell them, from watching that film?
I think that it's a very unique film. It will probably feel like a palate cleanser if you're watching a lot of really dark horror movies. It is a comedy. It will make you laugh. There are musical numbers in it. It is very bizarre and very fun. And it's also in some ways a one location film that you won't realize is a one location film till you're almost done with the movie, which I take a lot of pride in that. But it's just it's a very fun movie. So if you're looking for something fun that will also like make you laugh out loud, but also be very dark in moments, this is the movie.
Okay. And other than the entire cast and crew, of course, who are the unsung heroes? Because people generally will talk about yourself, who wrote and directed it, and the main principal cast and stuff. So who would you think, you know what, I'm going to mention them on this? They need a pat on the back, other than everybody, of course, because I'm sure everybody was amazing.
Well, I mean, we have our main cast who are amazing. We're getting, Angela's great, and Nakia Gamby-Turner and Chloe Farnworth and Mick Foley and David Arquette are getting a lot of shout outs. Yeah. We have an amazing supporting cast who came out to Arkansas for a long period of time. Kit Williamson, who is a star in his own right, he has his own show on Netflix. He came out because he's a friend of mine, and plays a small town officer. And then all of the supporting cast are amazing. Dusty Warren, Tom DeTrenis, Brooke Sagan, and Tara Perry, who plays this character Dorothy, who is a very Christian but very snarky nurse, also produced the entire movie. So that's something people have not asked me about, which I think is crazy, because she was literally shooting, doing paperwork, going and running people back to their hotels, coming back and shooting. Like, her days were just crazy.
Did she manage to sleep, or is she still sleeping? I think
no, she just shot another movie that she produced and acted in. I could not believe it. I know she's a workhorse, and like I would want to work with her anytime. She does an amazing job. And then Matt Glass is my DP. He did the music for the movie. He did VFX, and he was a producer.
There's people wearing a lot of hats on this film.
It's a small film, yeah.
So well done, Matt. But yeah, the film looks glorious. The visual look of it looks stunning. I'm glad you warned me about the musical numbers, because sometimes musical numbers in films can confuse me a little bit. I'm like, huh? What's going on? So I'm glad I know there's one of those coming up. But, I'm going to be watching the film when it premieres, sitting in my house with my Dawn of the Dead poster behind, watching it. You're doing a Q&A afterwards, I believe.
I think I am. Yeah.
The website says you are, therefore,
okay,
yes, definitely. Don't show up.
It's so weird because I'm not traveling, so they'll be like, "Can you do a Q&A this day?" I'm like, "What? Yeah, sure. I'm at home. Like, I'll do whatever." So it gets put in my calendar. But then, yeah, I am doing one, I think, that day, and then we're also playing Telluride Horror Show, I think, around the same time. So I'm doing one. I think they're like a day apart or something.
At least there's no cost in air tickets, which is amazing. I mean, that's obviously 2020 has had a lot of bad things, but I think the good thing is it's saving a lot of money for travel. So you could attend all these different festivals all over the world in the same day, effectively, which is
honestly, I would have rather I would have rather spent the money, but yes.
Yeah, same here. I was at Grimmfest last year. I was sitting down chatting with Pollyanna McIntosh from The Woman, and then later that night I was sitting down with Jen and Sylvia Soska, and so it was great. And as much as I love not having to travel, I do miss just sitting across a table, not a virtual table with people, and here, bought you a drink, that sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
something extra special about that.
Yeah, I know.
But I would like to thank you for taking the time out. Have you got lots of these planned? I'm guessing you do. I suspect you're very busy with lots of publicity and stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? It's really fun because otherwise, normally you'd be at a festival and you'd get to talk to people about the movie, just like hanging out. And like, this has been nice because I've kind of gotten to work through all of my talking through of the movie, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm not great at I don't love doing tons of interviews, but this has actually been like really cathartic to do all of these interviews, I think.
Good. I'm so glad you said I don't like doing them, because I've kept you talking for nearly 20 minutes. I'd have felt really bad if you don't like doing them. But,
no, it's not. It's no offense to you. It's just like I think it comes from being an actor, and when you're an actor, you don't have anything to say. And it's not that you don't bring anything. It's just that you're there for like 2-3 weeks, and then they're like, tell me all of these things, and I'm like, I don't.
no, I wasn't there.
Maybe for a 10th of the time everyone else did. Like, I just don't ever have anything to say. So I think I've just been crushed so many times in interviews as an actor that like this feels great. I mean, I have a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah, it looks like a great movie. So I look forward to watching it, and then I will type up a lovely review when I have watched it, and I will send it to your publicist so they can pass it on to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much for taking the time out as well. Good luck with Grimmfest. I will be virtually there, and enjoy the rest of your day, Brie.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye.